YouTube. It was the history of the ham radio call signs. And I thought we had some pretty big changes after I became licensed back in, 57, January 57. Boy. That seems like, if I think about it right, it's like yesterday, but otherwise it's a long time ago. But anyhow, and they covered my period. We got the KN6 calls, and which I had for a while, 1 year actually, and then the K6, which I got with it. And using VHF or anything like that was pretty much very difficult, expensive, and magic. But anyhow, this thing on the call signs, it was incredible. They had the B for a while, and they had the W and the K for United States, and different things going on with that. It was pretty incredible. And most everything started with a number, like we do on the net. Let's see, I'm number 6 here, but the call signs had different numbers. The 6-land area covered something like, 6 or 7 states initially. It was very interesting, and things happened during World War I and World War II, and the call signs became, you wouldn't, person would have to identify themselves pretty thoroughly to find out if it was someone you had talked to before, because they changed them so much. It was incredible. And run down here. I got a 746 that came in, brand new, 2 hours use off eBay. Boy, I think it's nice. I was going to try it this morning, but I got a little discouraged because of the noise out there. But then I forgot the newer rigs I got has a better receiver. There was a loud bzzz coming in on that thing. It wasn't anywhere else. So I am going to try it here eventually. But I have messed with it on 10-meter long contact with a guy back in, let's see, he was in Kentucky. The band's really, really been open. Anyhow, with that, I'm turning it over to number 7. He/she, I think it's a he, knows who he is, and I forgot to write that down. I'm sorry. But good morning to all, and I like the way Bob did it. And I think I'll do the same thing. Good morning to Henry and Chuck, Jerry and Mike, and Bob, and Dave, and number 7. This is K6 VX1.
Okay, Ron, thank you very much. K6 VX1, this is W6SSP, Steve in Santa Rosa. Running the usual vintage gear, the Collins 32V1 transmitter, 35A1 receiver, D104 microphone, into a bent dipole, looks like a donor, up about 30 feet. And I'll give a real quick report on the Santa Rosa flea market, which is the first one we've had locally in decades. So it's kind of nice to see that starting up again. And only 10 vendors, but it was actually pretty good. Wide variety of equipment, quite a bit of equipment too. A lot of boat anchors, some modern equipment, and some military stuff as well. Normal command sets, some usual command sets. R808, which was a Teltec receiver. I got one of those things. It kind of looks like an R292, but if you don't look too close. This one was missing the meter with wires coming out the hole. Pretty bad condition. No idea what he wanted for it. And a military mass set, really nice one. I don't know what the designation of it was, but pretty nice with all the fixtures and everything. I did pick up a dipole set, portable dipole set for the PRC-74, which had been modified with a couple of fly fishing reels. Well, the owner said it works really good on 40 meters. It has a balun on it, and thorax and stuff. So anyway, it was a good start for a new swap meet, new tanks in the area. A lot of interest, well attended, and hopefully that will be there next year. Different crowd than Lincoln. Very, very different crowd than Lincoln, but same stuff. Anyway, up to the top. Henry, W87YBS, W6SSP. Okay. W6SSP, WA7YBS. Very good on all. Everybody's got tremendous signals in here. Just very good conditions. And that's nice. So let's see if there's anybody else out there who wants to get in here on the first round. Number 8 is open, the Niche Military Radio Net. If you want to check in, be number 8. Do it now. Okay, there's the two standbys there that are always here. And WA6OPE, good morning, Tom. And in the number 9 spot is Bill, N6BCT. So I'll turn it over to Tom, and you turn it to Bill, and Bill, you turn it back to me, WA7YBS. So WA6OPE, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Henry. WA7YBS, WA6OPE. Good morning to everybody. Copy to everybody. Everybody's got pretty good signals down here in beautiful Richmond this morning. On the usual U.S. Navy World War II rig. So nothing new there. Nothing new and exciting to report. Over to Bill, N6BCT, WA6OPE.
WA6OPE and 6 Bravo Giant Wilson. And good morning, we got about, it was 59 degrees this morning, and the temperature outside, and very dark outside now. Anyway, that's nice and Wild Wild West. And that's over the Bravo Giant Wilson.
Okay, Bill, N6BCT, WA7YBS. Very good, and good signal on from everybody. So, even Bill, Q5, no problems. The Raquel does a good job. Well, all receivers will do a good job on Bill if you turn the BFO on. Receive him in exalted carrier. Sounds pretty good that way. Anyway, let's see, it was 38 degrees this morning, clear skies, very nice. Yesterday, it was 34 when we got up. We left here about 6 in the morning, I think it was 2 minutes after 6. We got to Cabela's at, it was about 3 or 4 minutes before 7, and it was 42 or something like that. A little bit of a breeze there, so it was nippy there at Cabela's. It was nice when the sun got up a little ways. Got hassled at the entry point there into the swamp meet. Snars has to do a better job of record keeping. I paid in advance, and the guy said I didn't. I told him it was on the internet, pretty hard to miss. And so we had to go around there for a little while. Then he threatened me that he was going to come looking for me if I hadn't paid. So anyway, it was a debacle that was ignored as we went on into the swap meet. There were 17 sellers. Well, there were 16 sellers, and there was one guy giving away free stuff. He had, just a lot of stuff. And but the 16 sellers, the equipment I saw of interest, well, Mike had the most interesting stuff. And besides that, there was I did see a Viking Navigator that needed work. Very tempting. It was in nice shape. The original meter was gone, but that's common. But it wasn't hacked up other than the meter change. And $85. And I'm sure it sold for less than that. But at any rate, that was one of the items. There was a few other vintage pieces there, and I did not buy anything, but I sold $90 worth of junk. And So it was a pretty good swap meet. We left at about 9:30 or so. Went over to the restaurant, casino kind of thingy that's the Verdi Inn or something like that. It's called. It's not Boomtown. It's a little place. Very nice people in there, and we had kind of a brunch and then went home. So that was our deal, going to the Cabela's fall swap meet. Not a lot to get excited about, but it was fun to see Mike and John and 9AMI and a lot of people that I see at the swap meets. So it was. That's a rundown from the WA7 YBS perspective. So let's see if there's anybody else. Number 10 is open on this the Niche Military Radio Net. If you want to check in, do it now. Okay, let's do round 2. Up to Chuck, K0, DWC, WA7, YBS.
Okay, Henry, WA7 YBS, K0, DWC. Well, good morning to Tom, and good morning to Bill. Tom, no problem. Q5 copy, great signal, and Bill, Q5. Not too bad. Everybody's coming in really good. And I didn't know about the deal there that Steve was talking about in Santa Rosa. I didn't detect, though. I didn't know if it was a swap meet or something else. But anyway, at least there were some sellers there. So, and glad that the other swap meet at Cabela's went well. Glad you made a little money, Henry. I think you probably would have had more patience with that guy than I would have. Better job of record keeping will definitely be in their best interest. So anyway, not a whole lot going on here. Not much in radio related stuff right now anyway. But anyway, we're doing all right here, and doing a little bit of work here and there outside. We're full of weeds all over the place, but we're kind of waiting for them to die so we can plow them under. So anyway, that's kind of what the story is here. But everybody's coming in good this morning, no problems. And like Henry said, I didn't know what the temperature was, but I just knew it was cool outside, so it felt pretty good. So anyway, we'll keep it going here, and we'll send it over to Forest Ranch to Gary. Gary, I hope you and Sharon are doing fine, and hope everything's well with you, and I hope you're not breathing any smoke in over there. W6JRY, K0, DWC.
Okay, Chuck, K0, DWC in the group, W6JRY. And good morning to Tom and Bill, copying Bill Q5 here this morning. The frequency seems to be fairly clear, and everybody's got good signals in here this morning. So, copying everybody's activities there. It's about 65 out here this morning, 70 down here in the basement. And so good on the swap meets, different locations there. Fortunately, I haven't been able to attend any of those for a while, but maybe down the road. But let's see, our activity for the week, and I'm sure probably everybody on here has seen it as something I haven't, and it showed up on streaming on Netflix. Was a series called Band of Brothers, and just about everybody I've talked to seen it, and I think it was produced somewhere maybe 10, 15 years ago by Tom Hanks and Spielberg. Very good series about the 101st Airborne getting drafted, going through jump school, so on, and all their activities, jumping into France on D-Day and so on.
Of course, what I look for, and I think now a lot of you guys, Steve and so on, we always look for the radios in there. And let's see, this one I think about the only two radios I think I've seen the same in the whole program series was this, using the BC-611s in the patrols and the BC-1000s backpack, which those were FM. So I did see a couple of scenes where they were talking between a BC-611 and a BC-1000, which I don't think that works. But why I really liked it and remembered a lot of things about it was when I first went to work in 1955 with Pacific Bell, a lot of the guys I worked with were veterans of World War II. And one of the guys they put me with when I first started as a installer when I was 19, he was in the 101st, and he went through all the things that these guys did in that, and he had a lot of interesting stories. Actually, what he did was prior to getting drafted, he had actually gone to work for Pacific Bell and was there for less than a year, I think, and got drafted. And Pacific Bell, the whole Bell system, they honored all the guys that were in the service, and they picked them up. They got credit for time in the service and so on during World War II. So that was a good thing. And one of my favorite bosses I had, he was in the 101st Airborne, but he used the BC-654. Now that one I didn't see in this movie or program, and he was in southern France, and he wasn't in the same areas, but he had a lot of interesting stories anyway. So anyway, that's kind of my dissertation on that. Other activities during work was just operating. Bands have been very, very good on HF, 20, 12, 15 meters and so on. I caught up with a friend of mine in India that I hadn't talked to for a while, and things of that nature. So, that's enough out of me for this one, and I'll get it over to you there, Mike. W7MS and the group, W6JRY.
Well, thank you, Jerry. W6JRY in the Sunday Morning Nevada Military Net, Early Bird Edition, W7MS. Good morning to Tom. Good signal from Richmond. And also Bill, who's always Q5 in Reno, and honestly, the last transmission was 100%. So great to hear you this morning, the two of you, and the other folks on frequency. So yeah, swap meet report. Sorry to hear about Henry's altercation, but I did mention to him that I'd had problems previously, I think the previous year at Cabela's with that gentleman. Not quite so confrontational, but the same kind of...
You're not on the list.
Which... in some situations, it's great not to be on the list, but when you've prepaid and it's so dark 30, it's cold, and you're still waking up, you don't want to deal with an entrance Nazi, let's say. Maybe that's a little excessive, but I'm glad things worked out, because he ignored me because I arrived a little late. Everybody was already set up. I was one of the last people to set up because I really thought that there was really no reason to get there to the crack of doom, since I'd already played that game for Lincoln, so I was taking that morning off, or moving a little slower. And great, Steve, on the wrap-up. Congratulations on the success on the rejuvenated swap there in Santa Rosa. You'd mentioned that in years past, in the heyday of Hewlett-Packard, there was quite a few in-house hams in the business, and also, quite an attraction there, a nucleus for ham nerds. But glad to see there's still an attraction there in Santa Rosa. Swap meet report. Sold a lot of stuff. There's probably some folks out there who got back home that'll be on the radio bragging how they took low-ball W7MS and took them for that $3 Radio Shack speaker. But the inverse of that was some of that stuff was my God, it's going to fill up valuable space in the trash can. So I'm glad to see it gone. I think I exceeded expectations somewhere well over $100, maybe close to 150 in nickel and dime sales. And one interesting thing was a local was interested in an object, and I said he could have it, and he insisted that he pay for it. So he handed me $10. So that's the inverse of the low ball. But I did buy one item, spent $5 for a Hewlett-Packard FET probe. Specifically for Steve, a P6202A, and it works. And the quad output power supply to power those devices, which that was nice because those darn Nutric connectors that they use on those devices, good luck, you don't have those in the junk box to cobble up a power supply, so that was good. Yeah, Jerry on the Band of Brothers, yeah, great. It's been out for maybe even closer to 20, but good. Glad you found it. And I'll put in a little plug for my two uncles. The irony was, and I've mentioned them in the past, they're both KIA, but Uncle Frank was in the 101st, so that was strange. And the other one was strange was the other Playtone version, which was the Pacific, which centered on the platoon, which my late uncle had served in. So it was kind of interesting to think amongst the debris of World War II that both of these uncles were acknowledged in HBO series to a certain degree. But with that, over to Bob, and looking forward to the rain and succession of poor air quality. W6AQI. W7MS.
W7MS. W6AQU. Very good. Thanks, Mike. Well, good morning to Richmond, OPE. And Bill, BCT, who's actually Q4 here. I'll try the Exalted Carrier next time. Kick on the BFO. Well, on that swap meet there, Henry. Yeah, that would have been not nice. But sounded like there was a lot of good stuff there and some good deals. Well, Chuck, not a lot out of you this morning. Maybe you're on the first cup. We just about completed our first cup. Temperature here is 53, light rain, and more to come. JRY, interesting. My first job was with Pacific Bell. They recruited me right out of high school. They had a guy that went around and talked to the physics lab guy and who's a good person and that would go for this job. And they hired me right out of high school, Ma Bell. Pacific Bell, but because I was soon to be 1A and had to go to the service, they said, we will not send you to school until you return. And but we'll hire you right now as a janitor. So that's what I did. Very carefully had to sweep the floor with the moistened equipment there up in the switching room. No dust. Anyhow. So much for those times. Well, MS, you didn't spend as much as you made. That's a 50% gain. That's good. MQI, the TCK, really sounds good. Fantastic audio for grid modulation. Those are quite the rigs. BS1, I was looking at your early QSLs and back when you first got on the air. Well, I have, I'm not bragging, it's just a fact. I've been on the air here for 70 years. Actually 70 plus. And I remember the K-call things. Back in those days, the only K prefixes were military stations. That was in
51 or 52, something like that. And Bill Attorney only had K-calls. It was in just a few years, 3 or 4, I think at the most, they started issuing K-calls. So that's an interesting thing, I think. SST, swap meets. Well, sound like there were good deals there. I'd like to go to those swap meets, but I'm giving stuff away, so. She says, why would you want to buy some more? I've completed my shed that I store all that stuff in, and that's kind of ridiculous. I got that nice big new shed out there, and got it all shingled here a while back. Cost me $1,000 to have a crew shingle that shed with all the pieces and parts and edge strip and shingles and blah, blah, blah. So now it's just about full of stuff, and what am I going to do with it? Anyhow. OPE, you're sounding good. I don't know about the 2x4 things, if that's completed yet or not. And Bill, well, I'm going to try the exalted carrier thing and see if that makes you sound better. So, with that, Dave, on the TCK. Is that the one from Jason? W6NQI, W6Able, Queen Uncle.
W6AQU, W6NQI. Yes, it is, Bob. It's from Jason. Same exact rig. And, yeah, seems to be working good. Pretty solid piece of equipment for 300 pounds or something like that anyway. I think the transmitter may be like 200, 250. The power supply is probably pushing 300. So, it's not something you move around. So, good morning to Tom and Bill. And no swap meet reports here. No swap meets around here. I was going to go to the Pacificon this year, but conflicted with my trip to Indiana, so I won't be going to that. I recently saw a movie a couple weeks ago, I think it was, old Steve McQueen movie back in the 50s, probably one of his first ones, I don't know, where he was a young kid, dropped out of college, and got mixed up with some gangsters, and they were going to rob a bank in Kansas. I guess it was a true story. But anyway, the cops were using a Johnson Ranger and a 75A3 receiver for communications. Got a pretty good shot of them too. That was kind of cool. Well, yesterday N6CC and I tried to do the cross-country MRCG connection with the East Coast boys on 17 meters. That was a washout. No contact. I was using my GRC 106, and I think Tim was using PRC, I think it's a 174. I might be wrong on that. But even Tim and I could barely hear each other. We were right at the noise level. But I was hearing some guys clear back in Florida, so I was surprised I wasn't hearing the other guys up in New England area. The paths were different. Still flying with the PRC 515, having fun with that. I ended up putting a LM386 amplifier in the LS454 speaker. Man, did that make a difference. Audio output on the PRC 515 was just a little lacking, and boy, this really made a difference. I can actually hear things now. Working good. And what else is going on around here? I think that's it. As far as I can remember anyway. Anyway, all stations are sounding good. So send it over to Vern, K6VXY, W6MQI.
Yeah, W6MQI, this is K6VXY on the other transceiver. And I'll just do this for the one transmission. I decided to listen on this thing. It has a narrow and wide filter on it. It has a few things going for it. It sounds very good. You guys all sound great. And if I missed you, Chuck, good morning to Chuck. And I did miss both Tom and Bill. Good morning to both of you. And I'm going to turn it over to Tom. I won't transmit for a long time on this because I know I'll probably be weaker. I'm running about 40 watts on this thing, but man, everything I've done was, I even got back into 2-meter single sideband. Found out I had a what they call a bozo number now. I must have got that back in Dublin. It was like number 600 something. They're up to 1300 now of the member numbers. So been with that. I used to be with. I didn't know my number. Lost everything in the fire, but no more on that. Right now, over to Tom. You should still hear me, and I'm going to switch back to the other rig here while one of either you or Bill is on, so that I'm okay for the next round. So over to WA6OPE K6VXY.
I think it was my turn, W6SSP. Let me double check. Yep, I think I got it. Okay, Vern, K6VXY, W6SSP. You were a little weaker that time. And, yeah, I wanted to mention a couple of things. Let me make sure I have it. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, I want to mention a couple of things I found out about in a roundabout way that might be of interest to some folks here. I came across a frequency counter. It's a little kit. And rather than outputting the frequency to a display, it sends out the frequency in Morse code. Pretty neat thing. Anyway, if anybody's interested, I have a link to that kit. It's about $23. And that's pretty neat. I may order one for myself just to play with it. Kind of a neat thing. Projects this week. I've been kind of catching up on many of the things I got at Lincoln. 3 HF transceivers and, of course, the Ranger transmitter. And performed triage on all 3 transceivers. Got 2 of them working pretty much all the way. And the other one, I'm waiting for the service manual and some more information on it. The Ranger is done. It only took about a day. It was a kit. It wasn't a factory built like the other 2 I had were. So it needed a little more work and cleaning up. But the guy did a decent job on it. He had added the push-to-talk relay, not quite the way the manual says to do it, but what he did was actually a little bit nicer, and it works fine. So I'm going to calibrate the frequency, the VFO for all the different bands, and then put the case on and maybe get it on the air one of these days, Sunday morning. So let's see, what else? I think that's about it for this round. Well, send it over to Tom, WA6OPE, W6SSP.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. W6SSP, WA6OPE. Very good. Let's see. Swap meet cops or swap meet police. Yeah, quite a subject. There seems like, except for Lincoln, there's always one. And I can remember a swap meet, a local swap meet here, where they had the Heinrich Himmler swap meet police. Man, I mean, it was, you were, be careful, you know? And, yeah, it was always one, except at Lincoln. Hey, that's another good thing about that Lincoln swap meet. There's no Nazis there. And everybody's friendly and helpful, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, we're... Steve, you didn't mention whether the Santa Rosa swap had any Nazis running around. There's a farmer's market in El Cerrito where they have a female that runs it. And it's like Ilsa, she-wolf of the SS. So, everybody's barking and rocking out. at the farmer's market. So anyway, yeah, that's always been fun, dealing with the swap meet cops. And you know, it's almost guaranteed that if you're prepaid, the guy that's got the list is going to be incomplete, if he even has the list. So yeah, oh man. Well, anyway, interesting hearing all the swap meet reports. Swap meet season, I think, is just about kaput. And should be interesting to see what happens. So next year, I wish those Cabela people, the secret swap people, would space out their swap meet a little more from rats. And I wonder if Silver Springs ever had another swap meet again. In March, everybody was freezing, kicking the snow around. Oh boy. Let's see, what else was I going to comment? I did not take notes because I was over here at the bench digging into yet another project that somehow or another I got looped into working on GR5s again. I'm trying to remember what the hell precipitated that. But anyway, so that's all done. Again, everything's all back in and working along nicely. I have to make up a new power cord for another one. I found another set with the case and the original selenium rectifiers in the case that are part of the case, the filament rectifiers, were no good. So I had to modify it. So that's what it was. I pulled out all the power supplies I had and put diodes in the power supplies to eliminate the need for the selenium rectifiers that are part of the case. If you've never been into that PP308 power supply, it's a treat. It's just lovely. Very interesting monster of a power supply that when they designed it, it's got to work on anything. And, 6 volts, 12 volts, 24 volts, 115 volts AC, batteries, you name it, it's got to work on anything. And the interesting thing is that it works. And when they work very well because they have regulated B plus and regulated 1.4 volt filament voltage. And it's quite good. The regulation's amazing. And when they're working, they really work well. And the A model doesn't have any breakdown can't do any at all. And the non-A model sometimes, depending on the vibrator, God, I love vibrators. You just especially when they're 50 years old at the newest. Anyway, so that's enough of that. Very glad to hear that everybody is doing okay. Everybody's sounding good, whatnot. So I'm going to say yes. This is going to be my 73 round. So over to you, Bill. N6BCT WA60PE.
Good news to Jason my other news is that I bought a 32-inch transfer and I have problems setting it up because I'm not on a regular program. I have a Vortex is my internet connection, and it causes all kinds of problems like that. So all that sort of stuff going on. I'm thinking about because I was putting it onto my cell phone into AT&T, and that doesn't work very well. So I think the DSX is the extender for AT&T. So that was a conflict. And I thought having problems setting it up to getting the thing to work to do the it's all hooked up and everything. I was able to cover it and server and you can hear him, 91 years old. And so there you go. And coming to WA6YBS and Bravo Charlie Bravo.
Okay, Bill. N6BCT WA7YBS. Okay. Yeah, very good on the smart TV there. Bill's new purchase. Sounds good. If Tom is still listening, there, 73, by the way, to Tom, the Silver Springs swap meet. Yeah, that was a one and done, and it was actually for 7 sellers, I think there was, and being about, I don't know, 29, 30 degrees. That was a pretty good swap meet. I was impressed. I did the stuff I brought, I sold, and there was good stuff there. So it was one of the hams there in Silver Springs, I believe he was a ham anyway, put that on. And the problem with that is that swap meet was held on the 2 acres or so, 2 or 3 acres in the middle of town that traditionally has been a flea market for decades. And that land is up for sale now, and so the owner, in an effort to sell that property, has kicked the swap meet out. So now it's just empty, an empty lot in the middle of Silver Springs. I believe the flea market has moved out of town slightly, west on Highway 50 a bit. And but anyway, until there's a really solid place for that swap meet, then I don't think that guy's ever going to really attempt another ham swap meet at Silver Springs. So that's the rundown on that. Yeah, it was cold in March. That's a good time to have a swap meet. I thought it was fun, but there you go. And let's see, Burn, the new rig sounded good. At 40 watts, you were fine coming in here. Hardly any different than the 100 watts or so that you were running before. So projects here. I know last week I mentioned that the not this Raycal, but the RA-17L Mark III. I was attempting to use that along with the 32V3. And everybody was way down on it. And I had mentioned that it was probably the RF amplifier tube. And sure enough, it was the RF amplifier tube. I don't know why they eat the RF amplifier tubes. It's a 6ES8, which is a dual triode. It's kind of like a 12AU7, except with a 6-volt filament. And I know you could run a 12AU7 on 6 volts, but anyway, they didn't. They had a special 6ES8 or ECC189. Depends on what particular manufacturer built them. But at any rate, the one that was in there had a short on one of the triodes, and that was what was pulling down the signals. So anyway, the Raycal RA-17L is up and running fine again. The Toby Deutschmann project, that's the 1935 7-tube receiver kit that was produced by Toby Deutschmann but designed by Glenn Browning. It's actually a very good receiver. This is the second one. I have a Toby Special from 1936. They only made these kits in 2 years, 1935 and 1936. That was because they were such hot sellers. I don't think they made more than about 400 or 500 of them. But at any rate, being a kit made during the Depression and treated like a kit thereafter, this one needed extensive. In fact, it was a gut job and a total reno. But anyway, it is up and running, and behaving like a Toby should. So that's the rundown here. And hey, let's see if Kevin's out there. Is there anybody else that wants to check into the Vintage Military Radio Net just before the 73 round? If you do, check in now. I heard a ultra weak carrier. Did anybody copy that?
Yeah, that was Rich and Fallon, and he's got Rich. If he can hear me, he's way down. Something's wrong on his end. So that was KE6QK W7MS. Go ahead, Net Control.
All right. Well, we'll give Rich a few minutes there to sort things out, and what we'll do is we'll pick Rich up at the end of the 73 round and see if everything is if the problem has been discovered. I could just barely tell there was a carrier in there. I couldn't really decipher the audio. So anyway, if I hadn't had the BFO on still from Copy and Bill, I probably wouldn't have heard anything. So stand by there, KE6QK and Rich, and we'll pick you up at the end of the 73 round. So, as alluded to, this will be the 73 round. Tom has already signed, so 73 to WA60PE. So, Steve, you'll turn it to Bill. And Bill, you turn it to... You better turn it back to me, and I'll pick up. So, Bill, turn it to me, WA7YBS, and I'll pick up Rich if I can. So, let's do the 73 round up to Chuck. K0, DWC, WA7YBS.
Okay, Henry. Yeah, I heard him on the R390A too. I could hear him, but he was way down. Rich there. Good morning, Rich. If you can hear me, K6QK. Hopefully you'll find the culprit there. But anyway, 7.3's to Tom, and Vern, the new rig. The new rig sounds good for 40 watts. No problems coming in here. And Dave, same with the TCK7. Man, that thing sounds really good. It's always a treat to hear that. I always liked it when Jason had it. It was always a treat to hear that. He ran it every week. But it's good to hear that rig back on there, Dave, the TCK7. So great job there. And Mike, I forgot to mention, I'm glad you came out ahead at the swap meet as well. So it doesn't surprise me, though, as Henry alluded to, is the fact that you had the coolest stuff there. So that's no surprise. So anyway, all right, guys, I'll be Net Control next weekend. And you guys have a good day today and a good week ahead, all of you. And Henry, I'm going to give you a call after lunch and give you a holler there. And I'll go ahead and send it over to Jerry. So 7.3's guys, W6JRY in the group K0DWC. Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay, fine. K0DWC in the group W6JRY. Okay, still good copy on everybody. I actually heard Rich over here. It's quiet enough here where I was copying Q5 there with like very low power or something, a shorted antenna or something there. Okay, well, let's see here. Dave, the MRCG thing there. They've done that for a while. I remember, and I can't remember how long back it was, that there was a group, quite a group of them that traveled from Florida or somewhere clear out to California. And I did work a bunch of those guys there for this took about a week, I think, and I worked a number of those guys here a few years back on one of those cross-country things with the MRCG people with a variety of different vehicles, a lot of Jeeps, some of the bigger trucks and so on like that. So that was kind of interesting. Vern, okay on your getting back into the 2-meter thing there. I kind of give up on a lot of it. One of the sad parts of the sideband and CW on 2 meters nowadays is you can hardly find anybody at the usual spots because everything pretty much has gone to FT8. The only place you hear signals is way up around 316 or something like that on 2 meters. So give up on that. In fact, I actually sold some of my antennas I had here. Got rid of. I had some Azel antennas and so on. Got rid of that. Steve, I got some of the older HP gear. I don't know if you're looking for any particular thing. Actually, I still have some of the older tube stuff, oscillators and a variety of different things there that we used to use, and they finally junked all that stuff out when they went to the solid state stuff. Yeah, I used to carry around a whole truckload of that stuff. I guess I don't have much of anything else there. Just checking notes here. Okay, on all the swap meet information and so on. So I'll say 73s, and just send it down there to you, Mike. I'll be listening out, but can't think of anything else from here. So, Bob, you never said what you was transmitting on today. I got a hunch it might be the big rig there, not the BC610, but the other one. Okay. Over to you, Mike. 73s. So, W7MS in the group, W6JRY.
Well, thank you. And, well, we'll just leave it down. I think we're about 200 hertz low, but we can live with that. W6JRY, W7MS. We'll still get a reception from all. And, of course, good morning to Rich. We'll see what happens on his return trip here. If he's... it's got to be more than propagation, but great comments. Yeah, movie comments. And this was a preview that totally destroyed my ambition to go out and catch the movie Oppenheimer. And that's in the preview where they, for dramatic reasons, for stress and dramatic reasons, they show a countdown using Nixie tubes, and it's like totally destroys the illusion of a docudrama. But of course, it's only a movie, and I'm sure that was pointed out during production. They go, who cares? Nobody will know the difference. We want some drama. We want some stress. We need to have a Nixie tube countdown for the A-bomb. So that's my movie observation. Comments to Dave. I was mobile. I had left the swap meet and was tuned up on 17. Gave some shout-outs as this frequency in use. Heard a few swishing VFOs, maybe a nuance of conversation on that frequency, but other than that, it was Radio Zero. So it did time right. I really thought that I'd wrap up the swap meet prematurely and probably already be home by D-Day on 17, but it didn't hear a damn thing. So, but we gave it a shot because you never know. You never know on that. Find Henry on the 6ES8 and getting the Raquel back to operation, and the Toby Deutschman. I love the Reno, as in renovation, I guess, and gut job. Yes, absolutely, totally understand that, but you know. That's terminology used amongst old pros in the vintage radio community. We know that one. And Vern was sounding fine on low power, doing just fine. PRC 515 with an LM386. Totally understand that. It's definitely a little anemic coming out of that speaker. A little more comfortable than headphones, but not. You've got to be in a quiet location and have that speaker within earshot. So good job on that. And Tom's probably done and turned things off, but he's got it bad if he's back on the GRR5s and the PP308s. my gosh, I'm totally shocked on that because I thought he'd beat that addiction, but it's keeping him off the streets. And other than that, probably took a few notes here, but still good reception. Henry, thanks for running the show. And Chuck and Carly are going to have to make it to the Cabela Swap Meet next spring. We're insisting on an invitation. You need to go for a road trip. But with that, 7-3s from Reno, and we'll probably do some in-house bench updates and save that for next week since it's wrap-up time. And there's still a chance, Henry, that Kevin could show up. So we'll leave him room at the end of the rotation. Over to Bob, W6AQI, for an equipment rundown on your end, W7MS.
Okay, Mike. W7MS, W6 Able Queen Uncle in Montague. For the sky today and yesterday is full of hot air balloons celebrating something. All these guys sitting in baskets, with strings tied to big envelopes. We were down watching them yesterday, early in the morning, of course. And there was quite a few. It's an annual thing at Montague. Well, equipment rundown. Well, it's not military. The 7300 can do a single 3500C. About 160 watts out the door. Antennas deployed between the tower and the big tree. So that's the rundown. Well, let's see. I thought I would get more info on Jerry there and his starting out from the very beginning there with Ma Bell. Showing you a little test equipment around. I remember the early days in the two-way radio tech and having a Suburban full of test equipment. The big heavy stuff. You know, the Cushmans. That was a handful, wasn't it? All right. I guess I don't have any other comments, really. Vern, when you were at 70 watts, you really sounded good. I don't know what you're doing down there. Maybe the squirrels are chewing on the end of the line again. 7-3's too okay, and Bill, I tried to control the carrier, and I don't know. I don't think it helped me much here. And along the rest of these copying Montague. So 7-3's to all. And down there to that place that's up the road from the wherever it is. Got to be careful walking around. Dave, W6MQI. W6 Able Queen Uncle.
W6AQU, W6MQI. All right, Bob. Well, you're just about to fade away. So it's a good time to call it quits here. I don't know why. Put this digital meter on the line. Power. 220 line. Make all sorts of different readings, voltage, different things, and I'm burning 13,780 watts right now with this thing in production. 136.6 kilowatt hours. Well, the meter doesn't spin anymore, it's digital, but when this thing goes key down, that thing would speed up. Anyway, probably something I don't want to know. Alright guys, 73, and I don't know if I'll be here next week or not, but we shall see. So over to Laverne, K6VXY, W6MQI.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thanks for the signal reports there. I guess I looked at the modulator in the manual. 7200, which I've been using, is some sort of called a digital low power
modulation.
Over that.
I'm not using the nice microphone on this. I guess I could, which is the SM30, which I used a year or two ago. You guys gave me good reports on it. I should try it on this radio. The thing on the 746, the modulation system on lower sideband, upper sideband, and AM, it's all the same. It's called a balanced modulator. Doing something. And I want to thank Jerry for the report on sideband. Yeah, I suspected sideband on 2 meters is the activity is down. But there sure was a lot of activity on the net there, checking in. I'm going to try it again next week. It's interesting using a beam again. I hadn't done that for a long time. So with that, 73 is long. Report. Appreciate it. And I'm going to be messing around with the antenna. I still think I might go ahead with a higher antenna for 2 meters because I was doing it on 2-meter simplex, which is interesting. And some stations heard me that never heard me before. And it wasn't a power thing so much as it just having the beam. So here in these mountains, those of you in the mountains, we've run into not so much in the mountains here, but you get weird bounces and signal reports, and it doesn't go the way you think it would. So it helps to have a beam pointed somewhere. Okay, with that, I'll say 73s to all of you. See you next week. Getting up better. I guess this net's probably going to start a little later, but from what I'm gathering, we're probably going to give it another month or close to that before we switch back to 730. It's kind of like I lost Bob last transmission. He was hard to hear. So with that, I'll turn it over properly. Sorry, Steve, I don't know why I skipped over you. W6SSP Steve, using that world-famous D104 microphone, this K6VXY. Good morning, all.
Okay, Vern, very good. 73. Yeah, signals are starting to change a little bit, but 2.5 on everybody so far. And let's see, Jerry, yeah, I have more HP gear than any sane person would have, both tube and solid state. Some of the really new stuff too, so. Yeah, about the last thing I needed any more of that. In fact, there were some free items at Lincoln that I passed up on, and that doesn't happen very often, but it was HP stuff I already had, so maybe somebody else took it home and it didn't get trashed, who knows. And Mike, congratulations on the HP power supply. I think you said it was 6202. Those are really nice, and one thing about power supplies at swap meets is the heavier they are, the cheaper they are. And I passed one up yesterday at Santa Rosa. I really probably shouldn't have. 20 amps, 0 to 20 amps, 0 to 30 volts. That would have been a pretty handy thing for things like the LT13 motor, at least. Anywho, yeah, Jerry also very good on the Bantam Brothers. I'll have to look for that. I don't think I've seen that one. Like you, I enjoy seeing the stuff that Hollywood does, their screw-ups, and they don't seem to care. Some movies are really good, some of them are, well, not so great, but hey, that's how it goes. Hey, Henry, I'm very sorry to hear about your experience at the swap meet yesterday. I did get chewed out myself. The lady that ran the Santa Rosa swap had assigned parking spots for the sellers. I've never seen that happen before, but they had the call sign and you had to park in the right spot. If you didn't, you got chewed out. And I wasn't the only one. But the worst episode I had was many years ago at a local swap meet, one in Sebastopol. It was before, it was one of the ones that starts before the sun comes up. And I was there, I think, the first or second one in line, so I got a good spot. And unloaded truck, it's a long bed truck, and I had pretty much full. Unloaded everything. Just about ready to sit down on the tailgate and have some coffee. A guy comes up to me and said, "Oh, that's a reserved spot. You're not allowed to park there." And I said, "Wait a minute, fella. There's no sign here. And he said, no, you got to load all that stuff up, park way in the back. Everybody else had already filtered in by that point. And I wasn't real happy about that. That kind of ruined my day. And kind of surprised the guy bothered me because at the time I was driving a 69 Dodge pickup, pretty beat up, with a rifle rack in the back, and I had a pitchfork. Of course, in California, the land of fruits and nuts, you can't have a rifle back there, but I had my pitchfork, so people usually didn't bother me too much once they saw that, but this guy did. Anyway, I didn't want to argue about it early in the morning, so I moved, but the swap meet for me, and I think that you had the same experience anyway. So sorry about that, but there are people like that in the world, and we just got to deal with them, I guess. So anyway, guys, 73 won it all. I'll see you all next weekend, and hopefully we'll have good conditions again. So over to Bill. Tom, you signed. 73 and over to Bill. N6BCT W6SST.
W6SST, Bravo, Charlie Tango. Yeah, thank you all. It's been a great trip, and I mentioned, I forgot to mention, I talked about W6MIC, whose relationship flag, and he lives up there in Grand Forks, Oregon. And he got a phone number, and I talked to him this afternoon at 2 o'clock on the telephone, and to tell him what's going on, because he's always interested in that. And I told him about the SDR and Peters, and the government in the computers, really. Anyway, so that's the story there. Anyway,
Okay, Bill, let me break in there. And very good. Let's see if we can pick up. Rich might have a better chance of hearing me. So let's see if we can pick him up. K6QK. Yeah, this is WA7YBS. Go ahead and make a transmission there, Rich, and then turn it back to me, WA7YBS. We'll be listening.
WA7YBS, KE6QK. Yeah, I was QRP when I called into the net last time, because, I'm running the 7300 only seems to put out about 20 watts on AM, and all the switching, I just thought I'd jump in there and check in. You caught me in the shower this morning. I missed the beginning, but I'm going to be back. Put me on the end of the list there, after Michael. And then, I don't know if you guys started at 7. I come out at 7:35, and you were already into the round table. Anyway, you could stick me on the end of the list. I want a critical report after the next year. On the DX100, I want to put it in the case. I can't find anything wrong with it. You know how heavy it is. Once I put it in there, I can't work on it anymore. So I want you to tune off me, see if I'm no wider than 6 kilohertz, see if I have any flatter. Do I need, does it look like 50%, 80%, or 100% modulation? I'd really like a critical report. The band is going to hell. I was copying Bill at the first part of the net there in Half Moon Bay, and this last transmission I could hardly copy him. The QSB is terrible. I had Bill at S3, Tom at S8, Henry 10 over, Chuck at S9, Mike S9, Bob S7, Dave S9, Vern S7, and Steve S6. As I was taking notes. Anyway, I'd like to get this DX100B into a case, and I don't have too much more checking. The little smoke from last week was a dummy from me. I had put a piece of electrical tape in there while I was soldering so I wouldn't hurt some components, and that little piece of tape started smoking last week. What a dumb shit that is. Scared the heck out of me. Releasing the smoke from a 1959 transmitter, that's not the funnest thing. Anyway, that's the rundown, Henry. Yeah, give me a critical report. Are you hearing me okay? WA7YBS, KE6QK.
Yeah, okay, Rich, KE6QK, WA7YBS. It sounds very good to me. I don't have a pan adapter capability to see, real critical, but I checked the bandwidth as far as listening on the receiver. It's running about 6 to 8K. Does kilocycles, 6 to 8 kilocycles wide, which, sounds normal to me. And the audio range on it sounds, not a lot of bass, which you don't want, and it's got good highs. So I think it sounded very good. And let me shoot it over to Mike and get his opinion. W7MS, what do you have to say? WA7YBS.
Okay, Henry, I was listening, but I don't think he was on the 100. I think maybe Rich needs to clarify that. I'm confused if he was still on the rice box, W7MS.
No, this is the DX100B, this transmitter. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I did turn around and roll it. Absolute verification. Henry's a better listener than I. That sounds fine. Signal noise ratio is in decline here. So, but overall, I would be concurrent with Henry's comments. No objections. And I'm glad you found the smoking tape, W7MS.
Oh, let me go ahead then, and let me check and make sure that we'll check it out with the transmission.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And you can put me on the list at the end of the list for next week. Are you going to start at 7 or 7:30?
Well, sooner or later we are going to start a little bit later, but the way the conditions, I was thinking next week, but the way the conditions are today, I think that will be a little premature. So I would say at least 3 weeks, probably before we change back to 7:30. We have been starting at 7, and so we'll probably continue that on for another 2 or 3 weeks, but we'll let you know. And I'll put you at I'll assume you're going to be present there, Rich, so we'll have you on the list as going to be here. So any last words? And say 73, do your 73 round, and we'll wrap up the net. Go ahead, go ahead there, Rich.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I had a brain fart. I wrote down 3975 Sunday at 7:30. So that's why I was in the shower. I screwed that one up big time. Well, yeah, next week we'll be there at 7. And thanks for the report. I don't know. I've got a scope. That's one last test I have to figure out. I can't remember how to do the dual trace on it. I kind of want to look at this stuff on a scope or a monitor or something before I put it in the case. It's working okay on its side here on the bench. I don't know. I'm setting at 200 mils. If you do the math, that's about 100 watts output. And sorry about the 7300 QRP. When I measured that, it only puts out about 20 watts on AM. It's really not an AM radio, as we all know. Anyway, thank you for letting me in. It was fun listening. Let me see if I have any other notes. I got the signal checked. We checked the sidebands. I made a note that the QSC was really weird today. In the case of Half Moon Bay, I'm copying them, and then all of a sudden QSC's to nothing. Oh, that's really weird. Anyway, I'll see all you guys next week, 73. Thank you for letting me in. WA7YBS and the group, KE6QK in Audio Acres, Fallon, Nevada.
Okay, Rich. K6QK, WA7YBS. All right, very good. Thanks, everybody, for participating in the Vintage Military Radio Net. It was a good net. Everybody had good signals until the end, and that's kind of to be expected. So stand by in the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. We'll probably change the start time of the net depending on conditions, and we'll just have to see how it goes. But obviously from today, any time change starting a little bit later would be premature. So 7 o'clock next Sunday and 3974. So there we are. Thanks for participating. This is the Vintage Military Radio Net. I'm WA7YBS, and I'll be closing the net and shutting down. 73 all.